Patrick. We
Yeah.
are on episode, 2 of season 3 at this point.
Yeah.
And the subject matter is poise. That's what we're going to talk about. But truth be told, it's not exactly, poise is hard to come by when there is so much that is raiding your attention. And I'm using the term raiding on purpose. I will speak a little bit, and we don't normally go down this path, but I think it's important to go down this path. And when we have these conversations on whether it's just a productive conversation or this series, we live in time, and our ability to have poise within time is both an internal element, but also is fashioned by external forces. Again, I'm using the term forces alongside, like, there's a reason. We are recording this on January 23rd. And if you're willing to look back and Google what happened on January 23rd, where Patrick lives, which is in St. Paul, Minnesota, you'll probably have a sense of why poise is not necessarily going to be easy to come by. And while we may not be able to fully concentrate our conversation on poise, I think that having a conversation about what is going on that can kidnap your attention. And I'm not trying to be glib here, because it's not just, and I can't speak to your experience where you are right now, but
I can.
I know you can, and I'm going to let you. But I want to first kind of go into, as somebody who's living in Canada and as a Canadian, these things are not too far. There are things that are vying for our attention that should have no business vying for my attention right now. Like I cannot.
By the way, the next time you see your PM, thank him for us.
Yeah. I mean, there's an example of poise. There is an example of poise in a situation that you would think bluster is what's happening. And also, frankly, I'm pissed off at so many Canadians that are saying, well, talk is cheap. I'm like, shut up. Patience and poise go hand in hand too. See, now I'm getting a little bit riled up. But the point is that the time we're living in right now is nothing I could possibly fathom that we would live in. And yet here we are, and things are happening that were so beyond the pale for me to even consider. And again, as a Canadian sitting here going, we're hearing all of this, like Canada doesn't matter. Canada lives because of, from what the president of the United States said, because we let it, which is, just garbage. It's hard to have a level of poise. So to Prime Minister Mark Carney to have that, I mean, he understands the assignment, right? And now to move on to you, where you are right now, there are people in Minneapolis and St. Paul that clearly understand the assignment as well.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know, can poise exist without patience? I think they have to go hand in hand. I think they can't. Have to be, they're interlinked, right? But we can discuss that in a second. Yeah, here's what I need people to understand as I record this. As I record this, there are kids, teenagers, on their way home from school who never get home. They're walking home, and 2 SUVs, 3 SUVs pull up. Grown-ass men jump out of their cars, guns drawn, masks on, looking like they're in the Battle of Fallujah, tackle the kid, pepper spray them, throw them into an SUV, and disappear. Their parents don't know why they don't come home. They're calling frantically, no avail. Their friends didn't see what happened because they left school and they were walking home. Don't know what This happened yesterday.
Yeah.
This happened yesterday, a half a mile from me. And this is happening every single day, several times a day. And that's just the kids. They are arresting and disappearing without cause, without warrant, without any reason whatsoever. Dozens, hundreds of people every single day. All around me. In my neighborhood. And it happens so fast that there's for every one that you see where there's some recording on Facebook or wherever you decide to get your news these days, for every one of those recordings, that was just folks that got lucky, who happened to notice what was going on and stopped to take out their cameras and start blowing their whistles and honking their horns to get other people to stop and get out and record what's going on. So at the very least, this poor mother who is waiting for her child to get home can see their child maybe for the last time. This is America that this is happening in. I want people to know that. I don't even know how to get the rest of the country, let alone the rest of the world, to really grapple with that, because you can't. Because it seems inconceivable that could be happening here. In the same way that it was a long time, in fact, after World War II, and only thanks to things like the Nuremberg trials and everything else where you could actually see the documentation, you could actually hear the stories, and you could actually witness these things. And we found Anne Frank's diary and all of that stuff. We didn't know what was happening then in Nazi Germany here in America. We had no idea. And if the few stories that leaked out and said, yeah, they're rounding up Jews and they're sending them off to God knows where, and no one ever sees them again. And he was my neighbor. He was a good guy, or he was the owner of my butcher shop. Or she was a 14-year-old girl just going to school. And she disappeared and I never saw her again. I myself, as Mike knows, and actually witnessed one of these abductions myself. Young 24-year-old man who was on his way to work to open up the pizza place where he had a job and start working for the day. Came here legally. Came here the right way. He's not someone who illegally crossed the border. Blah blah blah. No. He came in and presented his request for asylum and was working through that process, and all of it legal, all of it doing the right way, showing up for his appointments, the whole 9 yards. He was driving into work, and he entered the parking lot, and this is what I saw. He was driving into the parking lot. 2 ICE agents chasing behind him. They box in his car. They jump out, guns drawn. They unnecessarily break out his driver's side window, yank him out of the car, throw him up against the side of it, pound his head into the roof of the car while they're cuffing him, throw him into the back of an SUV, one of their SUVs. One of the agents bothers because they stopped him in the middle of the kind of road of the parking area to get in his car and move it into a parking space, got out of it, took a photo of the license plate, took a photo of the broken window, and took a photo of me filming, got back into his SUV, and they drove away. In the car was all of his documentation, including his passport. The keys just left right there in the car. They don't care who he is. They don't care what his name is. They like, that's not of interest to them. No one has seen him since. Luckily, because they left all of his documentation in the car, after about a half hour of calling the, immigration rights folks and getting the video to them and all of this stuff, we figure out, like, because no one knew who he was, we figured out, oh, he works over here at the pizza place. Okay, well, let's get in touch with the manager of the pizza place. Manager of the pizza place is like, yeah, he was opening up, and, and he has a 5-month pregnant wife at home. She has not heard from him. None of his family have heard from him. Nobody knows where he is. And even the few, databases of folks that have been detained and such that exist, and are able to somewhat track some of these people and where they go, there is nothing about him. So, yeah, this is America in 2026 in Minneapolis and St. Paul and in Minnesota in general. This is happening in Winona, where Brett Terpstra lives.
Yeah. It's not just
this
happening.
is happening in Duluth. It's happening in St. Cloud. It's happening in Bemidji. It's all over. It is all over.
And it's not just in Minnesota, although the concentration, it's happening in a bunch of different places right now.
Oh, yeah. No, it's happening in lots of different places.
But you're there. But you've seen it. This is
right. And the concentration is
yes.
Here. Yeah. The ICE agents currently in the metro area outnumber our local law enforcement 4-1. Just to give you an idea of the scale of this. So I want people to understand that. And to understand this. In the face of that, ordinary people who really would do a lot of other things besides stand around in the cold, as part of a watch line around a school, because we literally have to have parents and neighbors from the surrounding area like guard our schools. And you have ICE actually infiltrating some of those groups. You have ICE showing up as if they're a neighbor and they're there to help, when in fact they're there to count the number of brown kids, the number of Asian kids, the number of Somali kids, so they can report back as to, what time they get out, who gets on buses, who walks. So they can snatch another one. It's come to that. It's come to like preschools. We have a number of Spanish immersion preschools, which quite frankly are mostly populated by upwardly mobile white kids. Whose parents want them to start learning a second language and become bilingual. The best time to do that is the younger you are, the easier it is, right?
Yep.
And so sending your kid to a Spanish immersion preschool or Spanish immersion or Chinese immersion preschool or whatever, that's a thing. In any case, I digress. But, it also is a thing that like Chinese families who want their kids to be able to speak Chinese and not to basically default to English, they have no problem. Plus there's a Chinese immersion elementary school, a French immersion elementary school. You get what I'm saying, where they so if you want your kid to continue to maintain their fluency in that second language, they can. I'm digressing. Here's the deal.
Yeah.
Here's the deal. The deal is that in the midst of all of this, you have people who are out there doing the work, who are peacefully protesting, who are non-violent in the face of all of this violence, who are cajoled into violence by ICE. And this happens. You're sitting there, guarding your kid's school or, guarding a place of worship or whatever as, a helpful citizen. And they will literally drive past you with pepper spray spraying.
Which they're not supposed,
out their car window.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's,
or they'll drive and all of a sudden pop, there's a tear gas canister that comes from seemingly nowhere that they've thrown out of their sunroof as they're passing by, just for funsies.
So you mentioned violence, and yes, but I think if you want to go broader, it's evil.
Yeah, it is pure evil. It is,
and it's no longer. So this is the thing that pisses me off. It's not, and this is what I think people need to get through their heads. It's not left versus right.
No,
it's
no.
That's
is right versus wrong.
This is right versus wrong.
Yeah.
And until that is the predominant message, which is, again, that's got to break through the noise. People are going to keep thinking it's this it's us versus them. It's and
right.
That's garbage. It's absolute garbage.
Yeah. No, it is, and it really is. It really does come down to what do you think the role of your society should be?
For those that are listening that are like, oh, I came here to listen to something else. Sorry, too bad. Next episode, if you want, that's fine. But I mean, I think
the truth of the matter is that it takes a tremendous amount of patience and poise,
sure,
to be out there, to be protesting, to be saying no, this is wrong in the face of so much danger, in the face of so much immorality, in the face of your rights being completely ignored and stripped.
But I want to illustrate the reason I said that wasn't so much like it should be ignored. It's more because people you've heard this and I mean it's in the news. And again, remember I as someone outside of the US, I'm getting news from other sources, not just US news, because again, news, as you know, has been it's not the way it used to be.
Weaponized as well.
Exactly. But what I was going to get at is you're hearing people argue, yeah, but previous administrations have deported people as well. It's not the act of deportation. It's the methods and the action. Like it wasn't happening this way. There's there's a right way and a wrong way. And nuance fits in there, believe it or not. And this is this is an example of no nuance. None. Zero. Yeah. The 5-year-old like that I read about, like they're and then trying to crap rationalize that is because to do that in post, I mean, there's got to be so much spin going on around that. It's just it is when you are trying to spin and position a story or a narrative that is just becoming increasingly hard to say, hey, this is what it is. You lose the ability to maintain poise because poise can't live honorably in a lie. It cannot, because unless you're evil, unless you're diabolically evil, like that's my belief. Now, I mean, someone may argue, but I believe that's the case.
I would argue too that I mean, the case of the poor 5-year-old kid. His name is Luis, by the way. I'm not sorry. Yeah, Luis. The vice president came here yesterday and held a big news conference, showy thing, speaking rah-rah to the ICE agents, saying, no, his father was illegal, and therefore we had to take the kid because we're not going to separate the kid from his dad, this, that, and the other. I want to be very, very, very clear here. His father, his mother were not illegal. Just like the kid I saw disappeared. Lucio was his name. Lucio, sorry. They came. They presented their case for asylum. They have shown up to every court date. They have filed every bit of paperwork. They were going about things the right way. There was nothing illegal about what they did. They were following the process and the law that we have set forth and has been in place for quite some time to apply for citizenship in the United States, and were granted by said United States asylum here until their case was properly adjudicated and they were either A, granted citizenship, or B, said, nope, sorry, at which case they would have done what many other people do, that most other people do that face that, which is get on a plane, go back.
Yeah.
So all of this is to say that they were not illegal. Neither was that kid. And he and his father are in a detention center in Texas. And the only reason they haven't been put on a flight as fast as possible out of this country is because that would be all over the news. And they're trying to avoid that. And they're trying to, as you say, spin it. But here's the thing about spin. You don't have to spin the facts.
No.
The facts are what they are, right? And the facts are that his parents were not illegal. The facts are that ICE doesn't care about whether they're legal or not.
Yep.
The facts are that Trump, Vance, none of them care about whether they are legal or not. In their mind, they're illegal simply because they are not from here. And even that they're trying to get away from. They very much would like to say, yes, anyone who was born here, but their parents were not from here, are also illegal.
Yeah.
They've said as much.
Yep.
There's a Supreme Court case right now, waiting to be adjudicated on that very topic, on that very subject.
It's the Dreamers, right? Is that
yes.
that part? Yeah.
But I want to, partly. I want folks to be very clear, right? The Dreamers are not oftentimes. The Dreamers are a class of these folks, right?
Right.
The Dreamers generally refer to folks who came to this country, maybe not in the same sort of like, I'm going to present myself, I'm going to ask for asylum, this, that, and maybe they did cross the border, quote unquote, illegally. Maybe they've overstayed their visa,
sure.
Maybe whatever it is, right? But they, might then, they may give birth to a child. That child is born here. That child has citizenship. Right. The parents do not.
We
actually have someone
that.
we know somebody who fits that description,
mm-hmm.
who's very close to us, who's like a daughter to us, by the way. But I also want to make it very clear that there are plenty of other people that fit that class that are not, folks, like the little kid where his parents came here and they were doing all the right things, right? Or, folks that, came over on let's just say a work visa, and had been working here as an Australian citizen, for instance, for 10 years for a company. Well, it's the husband, the wife, and they have a baby, and the baby's got American citizen. You get what right? Yep. Yeah, it
happens it happens in professional sports and all that stuff, right?
All that stuff, right? Sure. And so I just want to be clear that this isn't just quote unquote Dreamers, children of people that like crossed the border illegally. They broke through some fence at the border, and they got some job under the table, and they've been skimming off the system, and no, that's out of 99% of these people, that you're probably talking about 1% of those, maybe. Mm-hmm. No, all of this is to say that the facts don't require spin.
No.
You don't have to make stuff up. You don't have to say it a different way. You don't have to lie about no, it doesn't require that. It's what it is, right? And I would have I wouldn't have any more respect. I'm lying. But I would have much more understanding if they just said, yeah, that 5-year-old kid, his parents were illegal as far as we're concerned, because our definition of illegal is different than every other previous generation or administration. Yeah. And our definition of illegal hasn't even really been adjudicated as being illegal by the Supreme Court. But I'm the president, and I get to decide the laws, and I get to say whether things are legal or not. Because that's the mindset that they actually have.
Yep.
That's the truth. That's what they believe.
So you actually get to a good point, because I'm going to go back to Carney's speech. And one of the things that I pulled from that was the idea of performative belief. Performative belief came from that. And I'm like, this concept of and this goes to the whole doing productive versus being productive. I can actually bring this back to my own work. But, this idea of if you do something long enough, if the things are the way they are long enough, even if things start to fall apart, the performance can essentially replace the truth. Even though the truth is...
Oh, yeah.
So things like, again, what you're talking about.
Fake it until you make it.
Right.
Is the general idea, right?
But now you've made it, and then you still are faking it, right? You know what I mean? Like it's still happening.
Yeah.
And what I really liked about what was said, and let me be clear about our prime minister. He would not have given that speech if he did not know how that speech would be taken. He would not have given it. He's smart. He's very smart. And he wrote it himself, which, goes to say a whole bunch of things. I mean, I guess you could say that Trump probably writes his own as well.
No, he doesn't have a speechwriter. That should be obvious.
And writing,
even if he did, he wouldn't follow whatever was written.
But,
and that also has been documented. But
the thing about performative belief versus truth, if there's this book that I picked up a number of years ago in one of our little free libraries calling The Ongoing History of Cults. Performative belief is one of the hallmarks of cult-like behavior.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Now, that's not to say, now when Prime Minister Carney brought this up in that talk, there are elements of any group can demonstrate some level of, tribalism, if you want to call it that, or even some things that may appear to be cult-like, which is why you get this whole the right versus the left thing, right? Because, the further extreme you go out, you could see that. But this is different. Like this is, and if you were to, this is where, again, patience and poise can come into play. If you were to step back and look, and I'm going to give you a really clear example that's going to maybe take you out of some of what we're talking about here, but still bring up the primary authoritarian evil culprit that I did a podcast about a number of years ago saying, don't get this guy back, like don't vote for him the first time. And yet here you are.
Here we are.
And not you, but I mean the collective. Anyway, but you're in it. But what I was gonna say is, I lost my train of thought because it's really, this board of peace nonsense. If you were to no, but seriously, like you laugh, but the problem is that it's laughter to a point. You're like, I mean, we all think it's ridiculous. But you're like, oh wait, like it's ridiculous, but this guy is...
Well, because, right. I mean, you laugh because it's the only way you can
cope.
You can cope with the insanity, with the crazy, with the just pure evil, with the grift.
Right.
I mean, this is the other thing.
Yeah, it's
people don't understand. To be a part of this thing, you're invited, but only if you can pay $1 billion.
And he'll be the board leader forever.
To Trump.
Yes, to Trump. It's you know what it is? It comes across like a mastermind. Like one of those paid masterminds. But here's the thing. That aside, the grift of you got to pay $1 billion. Where's that money go? Well, blah, blah, all of that. The fact that there are people that are on that board that are not elected officials that are clearly tied to this person. But here's the thing. If you are looking at this objectively and you take a step back and you see some of the people that are on that board or have been invited to a board of peace, and yet if the reason two of them weren't there to accept the invitation. Do you know why they weren't there? Because if they were there, they would have been arrested because they are fugitives under international law.
International law. Putin being one of those, yes.
Again, and Netanyahu being the other. Again, if you step back and go, like you don't even have to think, in my mind, you don't even have to think that hard. But again, when you have performative belief driving you, it doesn't matter. Oh, look what maybe he can, and then you start to crap rationalize. Well, maybe this is what he can do. He can convince them, so on and so forth. He isn't, there is no altruism going on here at all.
Mm-hmm.
And you can see it. And it's just fascinating to me that, and it's fascinating and terrifying and all of that this continues to unfold. And yet, we're kind of getting the thoughts and prayers stuff around this, where it's like, well, wait until the midterm elections. Mark this episode. If the midterms don't happen, I would, in your country, I will not be shocked.
No, I wouldn't either. And
in fact, I would be surprised if they do.
they are actively looking for excuses to Let's just say that that's going to be the proof of whether we have a democracy or not.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that is that. Yeah, I don't want to say anything.
No.
Here's what I will say.
Okay.
Here's what I will say, and that is that I believe that we need to assume, based on all that I am seeing on a daily basis around here, that there are that we have a situation where we have certain forces, controlling forces within our government, our federal government, that do not follow or believe in the law.
Because it doesn't work.
They do not follow or believe in the Constitution. And I'm reminded of, I forget exactly what the quote is. You can help me find it. I don't want to clickety-clack on my keyboard while we're talking. And plus, we do have a limited amount of time because I have a protest to get to. I'm not joking.
No, it's happening in an hour, a little less than an hour from now, right?
Well, actually, the one in our neighborhood has already started.
Okay.
Yeah. But it's there are the rules of an authoritarian nation or like I forget what it is, but basically there are laws to which it's applies versus binds. You know the one I'm talking about.
Yeah.
That applies but does not bind, does but does not apply.
It is
something like that.
Yeah, I can't.
It does.
Yeah, go ahead.
Bind, and you can just edit this out.
No, you know what? Number one, we're not editing any of this stuff out, and also there's no ads in this episode. This is I have to decide ultimately. Poise, it was the title. It's going to change. I mean, but Poise is. I mean, because this is a crux in time. It's as again.
Go ahead. It's Will Hoyt's law. Conservatism consists of exactly one proposition, to wit, there must be in-groups whom the law protects but does not bind, alongside out-groups whom the law binds but does not protect. It is known as Will Hoyt's law. And that is exactly what we are seeing playing out here. To the forces within our government, the law protects them, but it does not bind them.
Right.
And because it does not bind them, they flagrantly disregard it and break it and rest in the comfort that as long as they are in power, nothing will come of it, i.e., they will not be held responsible for their lawlessness and for their ignoring the Constitution, ignoring the law, ignoring all of this stuff, and they do it all the time. Even things that the Supreme Court has said, no, you cannot do this. They can just, okay, well, we're just going to do it anyway.
And they're doing it externally outside of America too.
Outside of America too,
everything.
right? Yes.
They're like, the laws don't apply to us.
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And there's out groups whom the law binds but does not protect, right? And so, if a protester is out there selling, yelling at an ICE officer, well, that's verbal abuse, and that's we can crack your head open and drag you down and arrest you for that. Wait, what about the First Amendment? Well, that doesn't apply to, like, you can't just say these things. But that's literally what the First Amendment is. You get what I'm saying, right?
I totally get it.
And that's exactly what they're doing.
Have you seen Requiem for an American Dream? A friend of mine said I should watch it. It's Noam Chomsky, which is kind of hilarious in some ways because, of course, if he was shown as being with Epstein at one point. So, and again, Chomsky's not a right-leaning person. So again, it's not left versus right here again. But it's on. I watch on Amazon Prime, and I watched it, and what you just talked about, Will Hoyt's Law. He goes into that a little bit. He talks about, I think Adam Smith comes into it. There's a few others. It is the idea of the premise of it is, you want democracy, but not too much, right? Like that's the premise. And by virtue of that, which is interesting because they don't want nuance, but there is nuance built into all of this, right? You and I've had this discussion before about the right to bear arms in the absence of an organized militia. Okay, so then you don't have the right to bear arms. Oh no, but we do. So look where the comma is. I'm like, okay, well, great. Like nuance there. Why does nuance apply there, but not in the situations you're talking about right now?
Right.
For the very reason that you're talking about.
Yeah.
It doesn't serve.
Yeah.
And so as we wrap up, because I know you've got things to go, and also, I mean, while we don't want to add to the noise, I think it's important when someone doesn't talk about this stuff to this degree, or they don't go down this path, sometimes a little bit of, like, sometimes to make a point of going there, I think is valuable, because this person's talking about this. Oh, this person's talking about this. And I'm not talking about celebrities and stuff, because I mean, there's a distance between the average person and, say, a celebrity, but there's not a distance between you and the person that you're going to be standing next to in a few hours, in not even a few hours, in a short time from now,
a few minutes,
right?
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So I think that's a really important thing to understand, because I don't think it's adding to the noise. I think it's adding to the voices. And the voices of the voiceless, so to speak. There's a wrestler that says that, CM Punk or what have you. But I mean, you can't stand idly by. And when you do, and again, part of the war on attention is to make that happen. I can't. I got to step back. It's too much. Take care of yourself when this is going on. You too, Patrick, obviously.
Yeah.
But don't withdraw. Don't, it's oscillating, that's it. You have to almost oscillate between these things, because there's one of you, I mean, that's what you can do. That's how, and, I mean, I've written letters to my MPs and all that stuff about Canadian companies supplying ICE with equipment. And honestly, part of the way I've been able to do that is go, hey, help me write this letter, AI, because I can't do it without being emotionally charged. And then I go in and fix it. So this is a very important. Like I said, we don't talk about this stuff much.
Those who know me know I rarely use AI, if at all. But I did use it yesterday just to get a sense of how a college financial aid appeal letter for merit aid should be formatted. All of this is to say that life goes on, even amidst all of this, right? Even amidst everything that's going on and how distracted we all are. The truth of that matter is that, so what people need to know is right now, January 23rd, there's a general strike happening in Minnesota. I think this is, as far as I'm aware, the first time a general strike this mass has happened in the United States in a very, very long time.
Yep.
And a general strike, not just like garment workers or or restaurant workers, not just unions. This is most schools are closed.
Mm-hmm.
Most businesses are closed. That those that aren't, no shopping.
Right.
No, like the purpose is to say, yes, people have the power and we can shut this place down.
Mm-hmm.
And we can that, your businesses, your schools, everything about this society exists because we are willing to let it.
Mm-hmm.
And that includes our government. And so right. So yes, I'm breaking the general strike even by being on this podcast, to be honest with you. But that's okay. My daughter I'm
going to withhold your paycheck for this one, Patrick.
Yeah, well, there you go. That's fine.
And actually, I hear that they're actually paying people. No, but I actually do hear that some of the businesses that have closed have said, we're going to pay you anyway.
They're still paying their employees.
Which is a way of showing that there's support. So, to be clear.
Yeah, exactly. Right. And so, all of that is to say that even my daughter, because there was no school today, and they have a theater competition tomorrow for their play, that they are getting together over Zoom in order to rehearse and to run lines and to make sure that they are ready for the competition tomorrow. All of this is to just illustrate that, our lives have to go on.
Yep.
Even in the midst of all of this. We still need to go to the grocery store. We still need to make dinner. We still need to make time for friends and for family, and we still have obligations to our employers, and all of these things still have to happen in the midst of all of this. And I think it does take a certain amount of poise, right? To, in the face of the world. I'm reminded of that cartoon that is turned into a meme with the the dog, with the house is burning down.
Yeah,
everything is fine. Yeah. Well, guess what? That's kind of how everyone I know is having to operate right now. Not so much everything is fine. We know it's not, but there's still things that have to get done, and we are working around what's going on. And even those actively involved in tracking ice and on the various alert groups, there's rapid response groups that have popped up for all the neighborhoods around on Signal, where it's I spotted this location. We need this many people to show up with their iPhones and their whistles, you know?
Yeah.
So, and there are people who have their signal alert go off, and they're like, oh shit, I can be there in 30 seconds, and throw on their coats and run out the door and go down and with the phone, and they do the thing. They get back in their car and they go back home and they hop on their next Zoom meeting.
And remember, right now, at this time of year in Minnesota, it ain't warm.
It's actually, and we actually have an Arctic blast thanks to you Canadians right now coming through.
No,
really, it's helpful.
No,
we need these Texas ice guys to really know what Minnesota can be like in January, and we haven't had one this good in a while. And by good, I mean we started the day at 22 below. with a 45 below wind chill.
Fahrenheit, everybody. Fahrenheit. That's 22 below Fahrenheit for those that aren't.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And yet, I know just a half a block, not even half a block. There's or a half a block. It's like a block and a half. Sorry. From here, there are people outside in their cold weather gear with their ice out signs, and they're out there protesting, and probably some of them will march down to the state capitol, and it's a whole thing, and people are still out because this matters, and we're not going to let the cold get in the way of speaking out. Yes, stopping ice. Yeah. So with that,
Patrick,
we should wrap up.
We'll wrap up. Thanks again. We'll be back next month with another episode. We'll put all the stuff that we need in the show notes, but this has been I'm glad we had this conversation today. And I hope that those that are listening, you've taken something from it, because there's, it's poise is important, especially in the face of what's going on, but you have to do something with what's going on right now. You can't just...
And quite frankly, by the time you actually release this episode, I hope everything that we've just talked about is recent history.
Thanks for joining me, Patrick.
Thank you.